It's been around 1 week, and how does everyone think about the Perita Rebellion update? Well, I assume that most of you already fight against all the new bosses and try everything now. So, this video I won't try to tell you how to play with it. Instead, I will share with you some tips on how you can use on specific bosses. Now, as you all know that before we fight against boss, we have 12 minutes of timers to get as many orders as you can to get the buff for your focus skill. Now it sounds good that to get as many buff as you could, but from what I found, because for every 3 orders you completed, they will give you 1 additional reward, which I will consider as the rotation reward. Instead of farming so many orders, it will be best to farm 3 consecutive orders in a row. But because you only have 12 minutes timer, I would not expect regular players could able to farm the orders as quickly as possible, so I would say that 6 order is the one that you might need to focus on. Especially if let's say you still need to focus on farming the main resources for all the new stuff, it will be better to focus on killing the enemies for extra resources rather than completing the orders for only a small buff you can gain for the boss fight. After the 12 minutes timer, you will start fighting against boss. We have 3 bosses in total and you can pick whatever bosses you want to fight against. Let's start with Hunhullus. Hunhullus, I would say it's like Eidolon, but hit harder yet more fragile. Because all the weak spot, especially the crystal, also count as weak spot too, can be immediately do great damage when you pair up with certain weak spot mod or arcane such as the Acuity mod. This boss I would say is very easy to deal with. In a very fast run for myself, I can clear out this boss in just only a minute. I'm not kidding, 1 minute and you can finish this boss, showing that how easy it is to deal with against Hunhullus. But just remember, the first phase, you will need to break a crystal and you usually want to headshot, but instead of just aiming ahead, you should aim for the eye in the forehead. And then after you take down the first phase, the second phase will immediately enter the Archwing mode, which also means that before you go into a fight, you have to make sure you have equipped your own strongest Archgun in your Archwing mode. We had the Hunhullus, how about the Dactolyst? Dactolyst, I would say it's not that hard, but not easy either. It's just annoying, I would try to put it that way. You see, in the first phase, it will always like to fly around so active that no matter you're using a gun or a melee weapon, it's really hard to hit it, let alone headshotting it. Which also I found that very hard to deal with it compared to all 3 bosses. It's not that hard really, it's just very annoying. And yes, second phase will force it onto the ground, yet it's still so active that you're still having issue trying to headshot it. I know that a lot of people did share about how they successfully one-shot or just clear out the bosses with just a few seconds because they can headshot it, but I would say that's a very unique scenario where you can successfully land all headshot. If you can't, as a regular player, you might need to think about how to deal with it, and I would say this boss will really take up your time to fight it. As for the final one, we have the Prime Vanguard. Prime Vanguard, I would say it's also one of the easy boss you can fight with, because you're just fighting against all 6 Prime Warframes, which is Mesa, Ember, Protea, Ash, Volt, and Caliban. I know that a lot of players these days already play all these Warframes a lot, so you already know how these Warframes work. And if I have to describe, it's more like the improved version of Acolyte fights, because Acolyte usually only have 1 or 2 abilities with slightly okay health for you to deal with. All these Prime Vanguards, however, have much more damage, more abilities, and more health and shield for you to play with. So I would say it's a very fun yet easy as always. But one thing to be careful about is that during this boss fight, I will really recommend you to use melee weapon instead of gun. Why melee weapon? All because of one Warframe you need to be careful about. Volt. Why him? Simple. Electro Shield. How fun it is, you can use your own electro shield to block out all the bullets shooting directly into you. How annoying it is right now, you will have to find a way to shoot through that electro shield. My experience is that if you couldn't defeat Volt as quickly as possible and giving him enough time to cast out his electro shield, it's basically over for your gunplay, because there's no such way you can use your gun to shoot through that shield. After looking through all the 3 bosses, is there any kind of build we should pick specifically? Well, before talking about the specific build, there's a few tips I need to tell you what kind of Warframe weapons you should bring. Because of how we focus on the steel path and how their damage can be very, very high, I would really recommend you to go for a tanky Warframe. No matter it's a health tanky or shield tanky one, anything could. As for your weapons, let's just say that people already suggesting quite a specific weapon for you to use, so I'm not trying to go into the corner already. Let's just being straight. People really recommend you to use Burston Prime Incarnate. I think this is good because of how consistent it could do damage, especially paired with the equity mod, like I mentioned on the Hunhullus fight. It can actually shred through almost everything, as long as you manage to headshot the enemy. But aside from the Burston Prime Incarnate, I try to use Layton for my secondary weapon, and it also worked well too. Middle weapon also worked, but because of how certain enemies could be very tanky, you might also need to consider about picking a Warframe that can buff middle weapons. Valkyrie is the one that I managed to narrow it down to my final pick. And I will say that Valkyrie is very good in the Perita Rebellion boss fight because of how well she performed, no matter it's by her alone or with the weapons she had. That's why a lot of final build you can see that people always using Valkyrie Prime with the Burston Prime Incarnate. You can pair with any extra secondary and middle weapons, that's your choice. And so, there you have it. I really want to say that the Perita Rebellion update is actually quite nice, to be honest, because of how the story really plot out very well, and the new game mode did able to let me do some fun boss fight, I would say. It's just that because of how this is just only the beginning, maybe around few weeks or few months, we were still hoping for another update. But for the very least, I'm happy with it. And if you're still having issue with it, don't worry, anything is possible. Just you can try to start with the normal mode first before entering the steel path boss fight, because we also try ourselves on the normal mode first before entering a steel path, isn't it?
If this is your first time watching, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss out any newest contents from me. Why not leave your comments down below if you got any ideas or thoughts you want to share with all of us. And that's it from me, and as always, I will see you all next time. Bye bye!